But first this evening, with the war about to enter its 21st punishing week and people hurting up and down the country, I'll be grilling unpredictable Prime Minister Peter Clement in an exclusive interview from his home in Landfordshire. That's coming up on tonight's National Nightly News.
30 seconds back. You might want to put your grill back in the box.
What do you mean?
New questions, advance approved.
Are you joking? They write the questions now too.
It's wartime, they've got greater power, you know that.
Besides what?
It's not well, is he? I don't think it's anything more sinister than that.
Yeah, but you're infinitely trusting.
I am undauntable, impervious to daunts, whatever they may be. 10 seconds.
Well, I'm not sticking to these, but I'll play nice if he will.
I can live with that. Going in 5, 4, 3.
In part 2, I'm a little overexcited to announce I'll be interviewing the one and only Lil C. And later we've got a new feature that's sure to keep you coming back for more. But first tonight, let's check in with Prime Minister Peter Clement, who's speaking to us from his home in Landfordshire. Good evening, Prime Minister. Have we caught you exercising?
Oh, have we started? Yes, that's right, Miss Wolf. Just a few minor adjustments. I mean, nothing drastic. I haven't joined the gym more or anything. As my old man used to say, just because she won't take it up the shit, it doesn't mean you shouldn't try for a quick fiddle up the car park.
Language, Prime Minister.
What? Quick fiddle? What's wrong? Oh, shitter. It's shitter, isn't it? Yep, that's the one.
And can you tell us what brought about this new you?
Well, you know, Mrs. C and I were watching, the night the blockade began, when Jeremy Donaldson, and it were blistering hot, as I'm sure you all remember, and I were a bit wheezy from all the cigars and all that. And Mrs. C turns to me after the signal dropped away, and she were in floods of tears. And she says, PC, she says, I couldn't go on without you, she said. So I made a decision. And since that day, I have stopped smoking cigars. Except for Christmas. My birthdays, weddings, state dinners. That's what I say. I can't as useless running backwards doesn't go anywhere. And apparently I'm going on a walking holiday this Christmas, and that should finish me off for bloody good.
Did you make the decision to holiday within the country this winter because of the blockade, Prime Minister?
Well, Mrs. C has never liked travelling at the best of times. These are certainly not the best of times, on that we can all agree. There's a lot of red tape involved in leaving the territory at the moment, as I'm sure you're all aware. Some of those forms are bastard long.
All in it together.
What? All in it together! Oh, yeah. Also, it doesn't seem very advanced to be going abroad when the rest of the country is grounded.
And yet, Julia Salisbury announced today that she'll be visiting Svenland during this year's winter break. Is that really an example of team spirit?
What? Did you know about this, Gail?
No one tells me anything, Peter. You should know that. Why don't you know?
Well, leaving that for a moment, it says on this card that a body like yours must take some planning to achieve. What's your morning routine?
Well, I have a frigid morning routine.
Rigid! It's rigid, for fuck's sake!
Oh, yeah. A rigid and demanding plan that my doctor and personal trainer...
Who's your personal trainer?
Some prick called Clark. Is that on your card?
I thought we might wonder. Prime Minister, speaking of planning, with the blockade in its 20th week and the people of this country reeling from its effects, what plans do you have to get us out of this mess?
Well, that's a very blunt question, Miss
Surely
Wolf.
one for which you, the democratically elected Prime Minister, must have an answer.
Don't you get smart with me, Pat. I was a fucking national treasure before you were a twinkle in the milkman's scrotum. You want to talk about plans? Let me tell you about plans. That's all we do. Fucking plans and revised plans and then meetings to discuss the implementation of plans and plans and yet more planning for fucking plans and yet more fucking plans.
Well, that's good. That's good to know, Prime Minister.
You know, I used to really like you, Pat. You were a breath of fresh air. But I've been watching you. And you know what? You get more like him every day.
I will take that as a compliment. Prime Minister, later on this evening, your co-leader Julia Salisbury is going to give a national address from team headquarters. Can you give us a hint of what she's going to say?
Yes. Well, I imagine that there
Sorry,
will be
sorry, you
the
imagine?
usual. No, what I mean is.
You do know about this broadcast, don't you, Prime Minister?
Well, I'm sure I did. But Julia and I have no secrets from each other. We don't memorize each other's bloody diaries either. As my old mum used to say, if you wanted to get a job done quick, don't get bogged down in the pubes. What else you got?
Sorry?
Only cards, what else? A little piece of my life do you want to rustle through? Get out, refill my glass. Sir. Ah, come on. Come on.
Okay. What music do you listen to when you work out?
Well, Gail tells me that I work out to Little C, but I have absolutely no fucking idea who that is. Oh, for fuck's sake. And do you think the C stands for...
It stands for collaborative, Prime Minister.
Yeah, actually, that does make more sense, actually.
How's rationing affecting you?
It's hard, but we get by. You just have to learn to get by on the basics. Take comfort in each other. I've got Mrs. C and many a fine single malt. I want for nothing. Except for a decent night's sleep, of course.
Prime Minister, thank you for joining us. When we come back, it's time for the Culture Spot with Lil C and a world premiere performance of her new song. I genuinely can't wait to hear that. We'll be back after this.
1 minute back, everybody. And that is what happens when you wander from the cards.
I don't think he knew about her statement.
I don't think anyone's supposed to know. When you mentioned it, Bozeman's face turned a colour that I think you call embolism.
Am I in trouble?
Bozeman? Nah, you're like the daughter he never had. Suppose the higher-ups might fire him, though.
Who's Lil C?
Or if there's any justice, me.
Who's Lil C?
Are you winding me up?
What? I'm civilised. I read books.